If your company had to make one critical decision today, would it move fast or freeze? We talk about moving fast, innovating faster, and reacting instantly. Yet the reality inside most C-suites tells an entirely different story. You've seen it, that 2-hour meeting to make a decision that could have been made in 5 minutes, that proposal that ricochets through at least 3 committees, that idea that dies not from bad logic, but from slow approval. That's the velocity gap. The speed at which a leader wants to go and how fast their systems will actually let them go. The problem isn't intelligence, it's architecture. Executives today are drowning in data, surrounded by endless meetings, and trapped by a culture of over-consensus. They're busy but not decisive. They're trapped in a system that once protected decision quality and has now become a drag on decision velocity. Jeff Bezos once said that decisions should probably be made with about 70% of the information that you feel like you need. He wasn't talking about recklessness or being sloppy. He was talking about having the right kind of rhythm. Waiting for clarity kills speed, and speed now defines competitiveness. Again, fast does not mean sloppy. It means being decisive with uncertainty. It means aligning judgment, information, and authority so that action beats paralysis analysis. Velocity in leadership isn't about moving first. It's about moving with conviction while others hesitate. In our coaching practice, we talk a lot about how the aspirational and ideal executive has to be able to make decisions within the gray zone. They actually have to thrive in the gray zone because at that level, very few things are black and white. So let's look at Toyota, a company that has historically been shackled by over-consensus. Toyota made a deliberate decision to incorporate decision velocity into their DNA. To improve how quickly decisions were made, they use a concept called Nimawashi, which means in short, informal pre-decision alignment. So basically what it calls for is before formal meetings happen, consensus is built informally before these meetings. By doing that, the meeting becomes a bit of a formality to formalize the decision. But all the rigor and discussion happens before the meeting. Contrast that with how most companies work, where decisions are made in public and consensus is built in real time. This is the worst possible outcome for speed, because a lot of things happen when you're publicly hammering out a decision. Egos are involved, personalities are involved, a lot of things are added to the mix that could potentially slow down a decision. Just remember, the true speed of an organization is tied to the slowest decisions that it makes, not the fastest. And in most modern enterprises, most friction does not come from lack of ideas. It comes from lack of clarity on who ultimately decides, when that decision is made, and how that risk is owned. In other words, velocity can be a design issue, not necessarily a cultural issue. Okay, so we all agree decision velocity is critical to modern organizations. So what steps can you do to close the velocity gap? Here's a few steps for you to consider. Establish a decision map. Within 2 weeks, map your top 10 decision types: product, hiring decisions, client approval, capital allocations, crisis response, and similar categories. Identify who initiates, who decides, and who executes. Most organizations will find that 30 to 40% of decisions are being made repetitively and by the wrong person. Correcting this immediately will help improve the flow. Number 2, redefine decision rights. Move from shared responsibility to clear accountability. I talk about this a lot in my videos. The accountability has to rest on individual shoulders, not on team shoulders. Use the one owner rule. Every decision should have a single visible owner. Input can be shared, but accountability cannot. Publish decision ownership for all high-impact decisions. Implement a 48-hour rule. Require closure within 48 hours for all reversible or low-risk decisions. When you can fix the consequences quickly, speed becomes an asset, not a threat. Think of Google and their launch and fix attitude. They would take on some risk and launch products knowing they can edit and modify them and even ultimately reverse those products and pull them off the shelf if needed. Acting on directional confidence builds organizational agility. Number 4, institute decision cadences. Create predictable decision rhythms to prevent decision drift. Daily, you can implement tactical stand-ups to remove blockers. Weekly, you can implement priority resets to align focus. Monthly, strategic reviews are helpful to evaluate direction. Regardless, cadence creates momentum, and momentum helps create velocity. Number 5, train for cognitive readiness. Decision velocity depends on executive bandwidth. Protect thinking time, reduce the meeting loads, and redesign leaders' calendars around synthesis rather than saturation. Just remember, clear minds make faster, cleaner, and more confident decisions. Number 6, post-decision reviews. After major decisions, evaluate not just the results, but the process. Did we move fast enough? Where did the friction appear? What information actually mattered the most? Reward leaders for making timely, well thought out, well-structured decisions, not only for the decisions that turned out well. Number 7, build a learning culture. It's important that you develop a learning culture that rewards speed and doesn't punish mistakes. Establish norms where leaders share fast decisions that didn't go as planned. Extract the insight and move on without penalty. The objective is not perfection. It's disciplined iteration. Lower the fear of failure and raise the commitment to learning. Number 8, measure decision throughput. Track cycle time from proposal to decision. Track the escalation volume. Track the percentages of reversible versus irreversible decisions. What gets measured gets improved. Just think of it like professional basketball and how they use the shot clock to force action. A player has 24 seconds to make a shot. The same principle applies to leadership. Without some pressure, hesitation wins. But with it, performance sharpens, action is initiated, and the game becomes fun to watch. Again, decision velocity is a leadership discipline, not a personality trait. So in summary, velocity separates companies that move fast from those that linger. The executive who wins is ultimately the executive that moves quickly. They'll decide faster with better frameworks, clear ownership, and tighter rhythms. It's not about reckless acceleration. It's about precision in motion. At Exceed, we help leaders build those kinds of frameworks where speed and intelligence coexist. Because in today's market, the cost of slow decisions isn't inefficiency. It's potentially extinction. Okay, well, if you enjoyed the topic of this video, we encourage you to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, we welcome your input in the comments about experiences you've had with slow organizations as well as fast organizations and what made them special. With that, thank you again for joining us today. I'm Jim Hazboun, your host. And until next time, let's lead smarter together.